In this video, we are going to sync our edits and then learn how to retouch to make our fruits float in Photoshop. So first we're going to start in Lightroom, and you are going to select your images. I'm going to start with the photo that I want to edit in Photoshop. So I'm going to start with my basics panel. The first thing I'm going to do is white balance my photo because I know that the color cast is off. So what I'm going to do is get my color picker here. This is a white balance selector, and I'm going to pick something that's either black, white, or gray. So in the photo, right now this is reading kind of pink, but I know that this is meant to be like a gray concrete look. So I'm going to click on it, and it's going to neutralize that color and color correct my image. So you should be doing this most of the time in your photos when you're starting, is to white balance your photo. Later you can change color and tweak color, but you always want to start with a neutral color. Next, I'm going to just bring this up a little bit. I do want a little bit more warmth than my white balance gave me. So I'm just going to change my color temperature slider and warm it up just a little bit. But other than that, I think it's good. Next, I'm going to just do my basic edits. So I'm going to make this, I want it a little bit brighter. I'm going to bring my blacks down right here so it's tapping the edge of my histogram. You can play with the shadows if you want them to be brighter or darker. Maybe I'll lighten it up a little bit. I'm going to go in with my adjustment brush at the very end after I go from Photoshop back to Lightroom. So I will do my final edits then. And bring this slider over so that my white point is a little further over. And then I might bring my highlights around here. You can also play with texture. So if you want your texture of the fruit to show up a little bit better, you might add a little bit of texture to it. I'm also going to play with the vibrance of the fruit as well. I'm going to actually tone it down a little. I think it looks very saturated, so I want it to be a little bit more subtle. Once you're done with your edits, what we're going to then do is sync them to the rest of the photos in the collection so that you don't have to edit them individually. Say you want to make another Photoshop thing. Instead of editing and wasting time, you already did your edits to this one. So we want to match the whole collection. So we're going to do Control A on the keyboard. And you'll notice all the photos get selected in your collection because we're editing in a collection. And you'll know this because we're selected on it. And this one is highlighted and it's edited. So that's the one we're syncing all the other ones to. And you literally just go to this button, Sync, check on anything that you would like to copy over. So I want the white balance, I guess we do treatment profile, anything here. If you're not sure, you can just check them all. And then we're going to hit synchronize. It's then going to go through all of our photos. And really the only thing now you would have to do is maybe tweak your exposure if your exposure went up or down on individual photos. Now we're going to Control D is deselect. And I'm going to go back to that photo I want to edit in Photoshop. So now that we've synced all our pictures, we're going to go ahead and right click, edit in Photoshop. This will automatically launch Photoshop and open up your image in the program. Photoshop, I would start off just clicking on the Move tool. V is the shortcut on the keyboard. It's just like a nice neutral tool to keep your mouse in. Up here we have our options, like our menu options, which we'll use for saving and things like that. Over here we have our histogram. This right here is what I would like you to change. So the default is Essentials, which is going to give you just like essential tools in Photoshop, but we're doing specifically photography. So I'm going to have you click on that button and select photography, and it will bring up tools that you are going to use that are photo related. So it'll look like my screen here. We're going to add a layer. So layers are like kind of pieces of paper or filters that you're layering on top of each other. So whatever's at the bottom is the bottom layer, and whatever's above it is affecting what's below it. And it'll be on top of it. What we're going to do is add a new layer with the little plus sign, and then we're going to double click on layer 1 and rename it Retouch. We're going to make non-destructive edits by editing onto this retouching layer. So we're not actually making final permanent changes to our photo. We're making them on kind of a layer above it, so we can see a before and after, and if we make mistakes, we can delete it and start over again. So what we're going to do is now get the healing brush, the spot healing brush. It's a little band-aid with like a little dots around it. When you do that, you're going to get you're going to see a brush tool. So you have size sliders over here, and you'll see if you change it, it'll slide over here. Hardness is the edge of your brush, so how soft the brush is, how much it blends in. So 0 hardness is like very, very soft. This is 25%. If you go to 100% hardness, it's just like a literal like sharp edge. So for retouching, I want it to blend, so I'll do like about a 25%. We're going to make sure we're in content aware. And really important, you want to make sure you select sample all layers. Otherwise, this will not work. We're going to zoom in. So I zoom in using Control plus. I'm just holding down Control and tapping on the plus. And then I want to start up at the top. So I'm going to hold down the space bar and pan. So I click and drag while I'm holding down the space bar. When I let go of the space bar, my tool comes back. You can also change the size a couple other ways with your brush. I can right click and it'll pop up here like so, or I can use the bracket keys and just tap them smaller, like left and right bracket, smaller and bigger. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger than my actual thing I'm trying to remove. And while on the retouch layer, I'm going to just click, drag down, and try to paint. And it did a pretty good job removing it. I'm just going to go over this part, and that looks pretty good. Space bar, and I'm going to pan, and I'm going to try this one. And then if it missed some, I'm just going to go back over it, clean it up. I'm going to make a smaller brush. It created like a little divot there. I'm going to try to smooth that out a little. The direction that you're brushing also will affect how it comes out. So I'm doing sideways brushing over there. I'm going to get rid of this little thing here. There's also like this little piece sticking out. Try again. Oops. Control Z. So if you really mess something up, just Control Z and it will take you back in time and undo. The other thing I might do is as I'm going around and I'm seeing like blemishes on my fruit, I'm going to get my brush, make it a little smaller and clean up those blemishes. I'm going to show you another tool that you can use to get rid of this. So I'm going to get the third tool down, which is the lasso tool, and I'm going to draw around this skewer. And instead of retouching like we were doing, I use whatever's easiest. But if something else is not working, this is a good option. You can go to Edit and then go to Content Aware Fill. So I made a selection. I did Edit Content Aware Fill. And what it's doing is it's taking this area and assessing what's around it, what's in the green, and trying to fill it in. So if you take a look, it does a really good job. Like this is a preview and it disappears. What this is areas that it's sampling from. So if you don't want it to sample from certain areas, you can just paint over it and it will deselect those areas. But this looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and just check it here. So under sampling area overlay, we can say show sampling area. And then you want to make sure sampling area options, it says sample all layers for this. And then the last thing is output settings. We want to just output to the current layer. So it's sampling all the layers. So grabbing information from your main photo, and then it's going to output it and put it on our retouched layer, which is our current layer. So then you can go ahead and hit OK, and it will add it to that retouch. And then to get rid of our selection, we just do Control D. I'm going to go and keep working with my spot healing brush, clean up some stuff here, just making it look clean. It's still looking a little funky. Spacebar pan, clean up those little blemishes. Spacebar pan, clean up blemishes. Can paint over this. And then if it doesn't look perfect, you can always just go back in there and clean it up. Just trying to make this segment look a little neater. Let's make that a little bigger. And then our last little piece right here. Really take a look and make sure you're getting everything and that it looks pretty good. And then there's this lump here, so I'm just going to paint over that. See if I can't smooth it out a little bit. This is starting to look a little funky there. If you keep trying to retouch, sometimes you go down a rabbit hole. So I'm going to Control Z it and try again. We're just trying to something like that. I might then, another tool you can try is this one. So you hold down Alt, click, and it's going to sample from that area, and then maybe try, oh dear, that didn't work. So let's do Control Z. I think I just need to go back in time. But this is real stuff here. This is like what happens as you're working on stuff. Sometimes it just doesn't go how you wanted it to. Let's try one more time. I'm gonna zoom out and see what we think. You know, that looks pretty good. If I was gonna, I can go back in and fix it, but I think for you guys, this is pretty good. All right, Control 0. There we go. That's our final image. And then my favorite, most satisfying part is you go on your retouch layer and there's a little eyeball and you can see it before and after. So you can see what it looked like before and then after. So hopefully it looks better. Then what you're going to do is do a file. You're going to click up there and then you go to save. Once you do file save, it should show up in Lightroom. So we're going to go to Lightroom. You'll see it's starting to appear. And we'll have our original and then our photoshopped version. And you'll know it's photoshopped because it saves it as a TIFF. So the last thing is then we just got to edit it in Lightroom, our final one. So I'm going to get the crop tool. This one's crooked. I can see that line in the back. So I'm going to just straighten that out by clicking outside of the crop tool and then just rotating it so that line is level. I'll hit done. And then I can go in and do my final edits with my adjustment brush and things like that. So for this one, I might go in here with my dodge, lighten it, and I might just lighten some of these slices here. I can scroll up and down to make them brighter or darker. Here's another one. These were a little bit underneath, so like they show up a little bit darker. I can brighten them to try to match them a little bit more to the pieces up at the top. And then they're coming out kind of orange, so I may bring my saturation down just a little bit. And I can even adjust my hue if whoa, hey-o. Maybe just like a little bit more like that. And then if I really want them to pop, I can go back to the brush, I can hit new, and then this way I can go to burn, and I can actually like paint the background a little bit. I'm going to tap O for overlay so I can see where I'm painting. And I can like paint in this background a bit. Let's see. I can also try auto mask. And if I do auto mask, it'll usually mask around my objects. If the value is kind of dark, it might have trouble. That's pretty good. And then if I want to turn that off and then just go back to hold down my Alt key will erase. Oops, Control-Z, try one more time. Got some in here. We did a pretty good job auto masking. So I'm just holding down Alt to deselect it. Then I'm going to tap O or uncheck, and then I can see my before and after. And then you're done. You just export like normal.